Most people treat their 9 to 5 like an ATM. They show up, extract cash in the form of a paycheck, and leave. Maybe they grab a free coffee from the break room or steal some office supplies on the way out, but that's about the extent of how they think about what their employer is offering them. The job exists to fund their life outside of work, and everything that happens between 9 and 5 is just the price they pay for that funding. But here's what almost nobody realizes, and once you see this, you genuinely cannot unsee it. Your employer isn't just paying you a salary. They're operating like a venture capital firm, and you are one of their portfolio companies. They're making calculated investments in your productivity, your retention, and your future output. The benefits package sitting in your HR portal right now isn't a gift or a perk. It's a structured investment vehicle designed to keep you performing at your peak for as long as possible. And the twist that makes this whole thing fascinating is that if you understand how this system actually works, you can use their investment strategy to fund your own escape plan. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden systems that determine why some people build serious wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial position decade after decade. And what I've discovered is that the difference often has nothing to do with income level. It has everything to do with whether someone sees the invisible architecture around them or just walks past it every single day without noticing. If you've ever wondered why some of your coworkers seem to be getting ahead financially while earning the same salary as you, this video is going to explain exactly what they're seeing that you might be missing. If this kind of deep dive into the psychology and math of building wealth is valuable to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so more people can see it. Let me start by explaining what I mean when I say your employer operates like a venture capital firm. A VC firm doesn't just hand money to startups and hope for the best. They structure deals very specifically. They provide capital, yes, but they also provide resources, connections, and support systems designed to maximize the probability that their investment pays off. They think in terms of return on investment, risk mitigation, and portfolio optimization. Now, look at how your employer treats you. They provide capital in the form of your salary, but they also provide resources in the form of benefits, support systems in the form of retirement plans, and risk mitigation strategies in the form of insurance coverage. They're not doing this because they love you. They're doing it because keeping you healthy, productive, and financially stable makes you a better performing asset in their portfolio. The difference between employees who build wealth and those who don't often comes down to one simple question. Are you treating these investments as disposable perks, or are you treating them as capital that compounds? Because when you add up everything your employer is actually putting into you, the number is dramatically higher than just your salary. And most people leave a shocking amount of that investment on the table. Let's start with the most obvious one that people still somehow manage to mess up. The 401k match. If your employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 6% of your salary, that's not a benefit. That's a guaranteed 100% return on investment before the stock market even gets involved. There is no investment vehicle on the planet that will give you a guaranteed 100% return on day one. None. Not real estate, not crypto, not that hot stock tip your cousin keeps texting you about. But millions of Americans don't contribute enough to capture their full employer match because the money feels more useful in their checking account right now. Let me put this in terms that might actually make you angry at your past self. If you make $70,000 per year and your employer matches up to 6%, that's $4,200 of free money available to you annually. If you're only contributing 3% to get a partial match, you're leaving over $2,000 per year on the table. Over a 20-year career at that same company, assuming modest market returns of 7% annually, that $2,000 per year you didn't capture compounds into roughly $87,000 you'll never have. Not because you couldn't afford to save more, but because you didn't understand that your employer was literally trying to hand you money and you politely declined. The venture capital framing helps here because VCs think about guaranteed returns very differently than regular people do. If a VC could put money into a deal and get a guaranteed 100% return before any market performance, they would mortgage everything they own to maximize that investment. Yet everyday employees treat this same opportunity like it's optional. The 401k match isn't a suggestion. It's the highest return investment available to you, and it should be the first dollar you invest, not the last. Here's what makes this even more frustrating. Many people say they can't afford to contribute more to their 401k because they need that money for current expenses. But they're not doing the math correctly. If you're in the 22% federal tax bracket and you contribute an extra $100 to your traditional 401k, your paycheck only decreases by $78 because you're not paying income tax on that contribution. So, for $78 of reduced take-home pay, you're getting $200 in your retirement account, $100 from your contribution, and $100 from your employer match. That's not a sacrifice. That's a 200% return on the cash you actually gave up. Try finding that deal anywhere else in the financial system. But here's where things get really interesting. And this is the part that most people have never even heard of. There's another investment vehicle hiding in your benefits package that might actually be more powerful than your 401k, and almost nobody is using it correctly. I'm talking about the Health Savings Account, or HSA, and it has something that no other account in the American tax system has, a triple tax advantage. Let me explain what that means. Now let's talk about the part of your compensation that you actually see every 2 weeks, your salary. Most people think about raises in completely the wrong way. They get a raise, they feel good about it for about a week, and then their lifestyle expands to absorb the extra income. This is what I call the blending problem, and it's one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Here's how blending works. You're making $60,000 per year. You get a 5% raise, which means you're now making $63,000. That extra $3,000 per year gets blended into your regular spending. Maybe your rent goes up a little. Maybe you start eating out more frequently. Maybe you upgrade your car payment. Within a few months, you're spending at your new income level, and the raise has effectively disappeared. You're not building any additional wealth. You've just upgraded your lifestyle. The anti-blending rule is simple, but requires discipline. Every time you receive a raise, you pretend you didn't get it. You keep your lifestyle exactly the same and redirect 100% of the increase toward wealth building. That $3,000 raise goes straight into your investment accounts before it ever touches your checking account. Your day-to-day life doesn't change at all, but your financial trajectory changes dramatically. Consider someone earning $55,000 at age 28. Over the next 15 years, they receive average annual raises of 3%. If they blend every raise into their lifestyle, their spending grows right alongside their income, and they never build any additional savings beyond what they were already contributing. But if they follow the anti-blending rule and invest every single raise, those accumulated increases compound into something remarkable. By age 43, they're not just earning more. They've built an additional investment portfolio worth over $100,000 purely from money they never allowed themselves to feel. Same career trajectory, same promotions, same raises. Completely different financial outcome. I'm genuinely curious about something, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. When you got your last raise, what happened to that money? Did it disappear into your regular spending without you really noticing? Or did you deliberately redirect it somewhere? I'm not asking to judge anyone. I'm asking because I think most people have never actually tracked where their raises go, and realizing that pattern is often the first step to changing it. Drop a comment below and let me know your experience with this. This brings us to perhaps the most misunderstood wealth-building strategy available to the average employee: job hopping. Most people have been taught that job hopping looks bad on a resume, that employers value loyalty, and that staying at one company for a long time is the path to success. This might have been true 30 years ago. It's absolutely not true today. Here's the math that will change how you think about your career. The average annual raise for someone who stays at their current company is somewhere around 3 to 4%. That barely keeps pace with inflation. But the average salary increase for someone who changes jobs is 10 to 20%, sometimes more, depending on the industry and the leverage you bring to the negotiation. Think about what that means over a decade. If you stay at the same company for 10 years and receive 3% annual raises, your salary grows by about 34% total. But if you strategically change jobs every 3 to 4 years and negotiate a 15% increase each time, your salary could more than double in that same period. The venture capital framing is perfect here, because changing jobs is essentially closing a new funding round. In the startup world, companies don't grow by sticking with their original investors forever. They raise new rounds at higher valuations as they prove their worth. Each new round brings more capital, better terms, and validates the company's increased value. Your career works exactly the same way. Each job change is an opportunity to close a new round at a higher valuation. The market is telling you what you're worth based on what companies are willing to pay to acquire you. If you never test the market, you never discover your actual valuation. You just accept whatever your current employer decides you're worth, and they have every incentive to keep that number as low as possible. The key is strategic job hopping, not random job hopping. You're not leaving every 12 months for a tiny bump. You're building skills, documenting achievements, and then leveraging those accomplishments into a significant increase when you move. The sweet spot seems to be 3 to 5 years at each company. Long enough to develop expertise and demonstrate results. Short enough to avoid the salary stagnation that comes from internal promotion paths that never quite match market rates. There's also a psychological component that nobody talks about. When you know you're going to test the market every few years, you approach your current job differently. You document your wins more carefully. You take on projects that build transferable skills rather than just company-specific knowledge. You maintain relationships outside your current organization. You're always prepared for the next round of funding because you know it's coming. Compare that to the person who plans to stay at their company forever. They get comfortable. They stop documenting achievements because nobody's asking. They build skills that only matter within their current organization. When they finally get laid off or realize they need to leave, they haven't maintained the portfolio that would let them negotiate from strength. Their loyalty didn't protect them. It just made them less prepared for the inevitable transition. And here's something that might surprise you. Employers don't actually penalize strategic job hoppers the way they used to. Hiring managers today understand that talented people move. What they're looking for is a pattern of growth and achievement at each position, not a pattern of loyalty to a single organization. If anything, someone who has successfully negotiated multiple roles at increasing levels of responsibility signals that they're valuable enough for multiple companies to compete for them. That's not a red flag. That's a track record. Now, let me show you how all of these pieces fit together into what I call the shadow portfolio. This is the hidden wealth you're building alongside your visible income. And when you actually calculate the numbers, it's staggering how much money flows through your employment that most people completely ignore. Let's say you earn $70,000 per year. Your visible compensation is $70,000, but your shadow portfolio includes several additional components. Your employer's 401k match, if they match up to 6%, adds $4,200. Your HSA contributions, if you're maxing them out, add another $4,300 for family coverage. Your employer might also pay for a portion of your health insurance premiums, disability insurance, and life insurance. That could easily add another $5,000 to $8,000 in value annually. Add it all up, and your actual compensation package might be closer to $85,000 or $90,000. You just can't see most of it unless you know where to look. The shadow portfolio strategy means maximizing every single one of these hidden investments. You contribute enough to capture your full 401k match. You max out your HSA and let it grow. You take full advantage of any other tax-advantaged accounts your employer offers. And critically, you don't just set these up and forget them. You actively manage them as investments, not as accounts that happen to exist somewhere in a benefits portal you never log into. Here's the roadmap that can turn a standard salary into a $600,000 net worth. And it doesn't require any extraordinary income or investment genius. It just requires understanding and executing on the shadow portfolio. Start by capturing every dollar of your employer match. That's step one, and it's non-negotiable. If you're not doing this, nothing else matters. You're leaving guaranteed returns on the table. Next, max out your HSA if you have access to one. Treat it as a stealth retirement account, not a medical spending account. pay for current medical expenses out of pocket and let that HSA money compound tax-free for decades. Once those are covered, contribute enough to your 401k to reach the annual maximum if your budget allows. For 2025, that's $23,500. If you can't reach the maximum, contribute as much as you can beyond the match. Then open a Roth IRA and max that out too. That's another $7,000 per year that grows tax-free. Now implement the anti-blending rule religiously. Every raise, every bonus, every tax refund gets redirected to your shadow portfolio before you can spend it. You're not depriving yourself of lifestyle improvements forever. You're just delaying them until your shadow portfolio is generating enough returns to fund those improvements through investment growth rather than through additional labor. Finally, close a new funding round every 3 to 5 years. Update your resume, test the market, negotiate aggressively when you find an opportunity that offers a significant increase. Each successful negotiation isn't just a salary bump. It's more capital flowing into every component of your shadow portfolio because most of these benefits scale with your income. Here's the compounding math that makes this strategy so powerful. When you increase your salary by 15% through a job change, your 401k match increases by 15%. Your HSA capacity stays the same, but your ability to max it out becomes easier. And your raises going forward are calculated on a higher base. That 15% bump doesn't just affect this year's income, it affects every year of income that follows. A single well-negotiated job change in your early 30s can be worth over $200,000 by the time you retire, just from the compounding effect on all the years of earnings that come after it. Most people don't think about job changes this way. They think about the immediate salary bump and maybe the signing bonus. They don't calculate the 20-plus years of compounded effects on their entire shadow portfolio. Someone executing this strategy starting at age 28 with a $55,000 salary can realistically reach a net worth over $600,000 by age 45. Not through inheritance, not through lucky stock picks, not through starting a side business, just through understanding and optimizing the invisible system that's been available to them the entire time. And that $600,000 figure assumes average market returns, average raise percentages, and zero windfalls. It's the baseline outcome of simply executing on what your employer is already offering you. The reason most people never build this kind of wealth from regular employment is that they're only optimizing for the number they see on their paycheck. They negotiate salary but ignore the benefits package. They accept raises but blend them into spending. They stay loyal to employers who have no incentive to maximize their compensation. They treat their job like an ATM instead of recognizing that their employer is running a structured investment program that they can either participate in or ignore. Your employer doesn't want you to see this clearly. Not because they're evil, but because every dollar you leave unclaimed is a dollar they don't have to spend. The 401k match you don't take is money that stays on their balance sheet. The HSA you ignore means you're paying for medical expenses with after-tax dollars while they contribute nothing. The market rate salary you never negotiate for is labor they're acquiring below fair value. None of this is personal. It's just the system operating exactly as designed. But now you see the system. You understand that your employer is operating like a venture capital firm making structured investments in their human capital. You understand that the benefits package is not a collection of nice-to-haves but a set of high-return investment vehicles with your name on them. You understand that your career trajectory isn't just about doing good work and hoping someone notices. It's about strategically closing new funding rounds at increasingly higher valuations. The shadow portfolio isn't complicated. It doesn't require a finance degree or a six-figure income to implement. It requires understanding that there's an invisible system determining your financial trajectory and then making deliberate decisions to operate within that system rather than ignoring it. Most people will watch this video, nod along, and then change nothing. They'll go back to leaving their 401k match partially unclaimed. They'll ignore their HSA or use it like a checking account for medical expenses. They'll accept modest raises and blend them into lifestyle inflation. They'll stay at the same company for a decade because leaving feels risky, even though staying is mathematically far more expensive. But some people will actually do something different. They'll log into their benefits portal this week and check if they're capturing their full employer match. They'll research whether they have access to an HSA and start treating it as the powerful investment vehicle it actually is. They'll implement the anti-blending rule the next time they get a raise. They'll update their resume and start testing their market value. The specific actions are straightforward. This week, log into your HR portal and find your current 401k contribution percentage. If it's not at least equal to your employer's maximum match, increase it. Today. Not next month. Today. Then find out if your health insurance plan qualifies you for an HSA. If it does, open one and set up automatic contributions. Start paying for medical expenses out of pocket and keep every receipt in a folder. You're building a tax-free wealth account disguised as a health benefit. Next, create a document where you track every measurable achievement at your current job. Every project completed, every metric improved, every responsibility added. This isn't for your current employer. This is ammunition for your next funding round. When you walk into a negotiation 3 years from now, you want a portfolio of documented wins, not vague memories of things you probably did well, and set a calendar reminder for 3 years from today. When that reminder goes off, update your resume and start having conversations with recruiters. Not because you hate your job, not because you're unhappy, because you're running a portfolio company, and it's time to explore your next round of funding at a higher valuation. The difference between those two groups 5 years from now will be enormous. Not because of luck or talent or connections. Just because one group understood the invisible system and the other group kept treating their 9 to 5 like an ATM. Your employer is operating like a venture capital firm. They've been making investments in you this entire time. The question isn't whether those investments exist. The question is whether you're going to capture the returns or leave them on the table for someone else. If this changed how you think about your job and your benefits package, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps more people find this video who might be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table without realizing it. And if you're not already subscribed, now's the time. I put out videos like this regularly, breaking down the invisible systems that determine who builds wealth and who stays stuck. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Your future self won't believe what was hiding in your benefits package the whole time.